Welcome back to BNC World Headquarters. Right now, businesses across the country are closing their doors, and over 16 million people have filed for unemployment.
Physically and economically, Black Americans are bearing the brunt of this crisis. And joining us right now with a little more on that is Dr. Henry McKoy. Hello, sir.
Hello, good evening. How y'all doing?
We're doing great. So let's talk a little bit about first off, where was Black America economically prior to COVID-19?
So Black America was already very challenged. Looking at recent reports, it showed that Black America was on trend to reach zero in median wealth by the year 2053. And so what we've seen, even as the economic expansion has happened over the last number of decades, Black America continues to see a decline in its overall wealth. And so we were already on very precarious ground before the COVID-19 crisis hit.
But what about all these packages and plans and loans and all kinds of things that we're hearing about now as we deal with the COVID-19 pandemic? Is that going to affect Black Americans?
Yeah, it actually will, but it will affect Black Americans in a negative way if the current trends persist. So, for example, we know that a large part of the reason why Black America has seen declines in wealth and we've seen a loss of assets is because historically we've seen discrimination in financial institutions. We've seen discrimination in how the federal government distributes its capital, farmers and things of that nature. And the way this current stimulus money or relief package, however you want to frame it, is set up, is that it's going through those same exact institutions that have historically discriminated against minorities, particularly African Americans. And so what you're going to have basically is a situation where that wealth, that kind of road to zero wealth by 2053 is going to be accelerated, because when the capital hits the marketplace, we're all under the same detrimental overall economic conditions of the COVID-19. However, the medicine that we're getting is not going to be the same. And so essentially white businesses and white America will see a massive amount of this stimulus going to their corporations, into their businesses, which again will just further exacerbate the wealth gap that we have. And it's going to essentially send African Americans closer to zero a lot quicker than we originally anticipated.
As we move forward, what is it that Black America, Black Americans, and specifically Black leaders, our politicians, our governors, our mayors, our city council people, what can we do to make sure this doesn't happen again as we're moving out? Because as you said, I think that a lot of people already know that a lot of white businesses, a lot of Fortune 500 companies are going to get a lot of these loans, a lot of this infusion of cash, but a lot of Black businesses, specifically small businesses, aren't. What can we do in our community to be better as we get on the other end of this?
Well, I think there's got to be a three-step approach. I think we got to think about kind of the short term, the medium term, and the long term. Certainly in the short term, we have to figure out ways that we can keep these businesses open. So, for example, I've been involved in a number of different efforts to create relief funds at the ground level that where capital comes in, whether it be from philanthropic dollars, from community development financial institutions, from individuals, to essentially keep these businesses open and connect them to opportunities. For example, a lot of places are now feeding young people who would have been in school and getting 2 meals a day, but they're not getting those meals. How can philanthropy who want to feed those kids connect those to Black restaurant entrepreneurs? In the medium term and the long term, we really have to think about how do we come together and how do we essentially demand that that being put out to the economy comes over into the African American community as well. There's a group of leaders from community development financial institutions and others who are fighting right now to try to get Congress and others to allocate capital specifically for lending in that marketplace. And so to answer your question, we have to act right this moment to keep businesses open. But in the big scheme of things, we have to get our share of that pie.
All right, Dr. Henry McKoy, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you all.